I'm Doug Henderson, and I want to talk about how to hold a camera. Yep, you don't need to be told this. You already know how to hold a camera, right? But if that's the case, how come so many of your pictures are poorly framed, badly cropped, buildings askew, oceans unlevel? How many times have you had pictures that were soft, not because they were out of focus, but because the camera wasn't held steady? This isn't just a matter of personal preference. There really is a right and a wrong way to hold a camera, and many people don't seem to practice that. This is how I want you to hold your camera. Take your left hand and turn it up this way, palm up. Take your camera, the bottom deck of it, and set it right on the heel of that hand. With the bottom deck of your camera on the heel of your hand, wrap your fingers around the lens barrel. Now notice when you wrap your fingers around this lens barrel, you can get to the zoom ring, the focus ring, the polarizer, and even the little switches on the side that control focus. With your fingers wrapped around the lens barrel in this left hand, notice how stable the camera feels, how solid, how securely you're holding it. Now take this hand and wrap around this grip. Yeah, around this grip nice and tight, and this knuckle of your right hand ought to fit right in this little indention right here. And when you pull this all up nice and tight, your fingers fall right naturally easy to all these important buttons and switches you need to get to in a hurry. Now, if your fingers don't fall naturally, nicely, comfortably on these controls, then you may have the wrong camera. It's not uncommon for women to have great big cameras and can't reach the buttons, or men to choose a camera that is small and light, but they can't get their big fat fingers around all the little buttons. This thing ought to feel comfortable, natural to you. It ought to be your camera. Not every camera is right for everybody. Holding this camera like I'm describing to you, then forget about trying to frame anything through the LCD, but looking through the viewfinder, pull this thing up to your eye. Nice and tight, close to your eye. Your nose ought to be mashed against the screen. You ought to have some nose oil right here on this LCD. With this camera pulled up nice and tight against your forehead, with this camera nice and tight, your elbows tucked into your body, with this thing nice and tight, you have it securely, steady, stable, solid. When we're holding a camera like this, we're not holding it with our muscles, we're holding it with our bones. We've got this sort of a bone-to-bone connection all the way through, and it makes for kind of a human tripod. This camera is very stable and steady. We don't want your muscles floating out here bouncing this thing around. With this thing pulled up to your eye, elbows against your chest, the camera becomes not like something in your hands, but an extension of your eye. You are naturally looking where your camera's going, following the action. Those times when we need to shoot vertical images, and there'll be a lot of those, we need to take this camera and just rotate it. Just rotate it like this. So then we've got this deck of the camera against the heel, and all the buttons again falling right where they need to. This ought to be comfortable, stable, and solid again for us. When we're following action with a camera, we don't want to turn our head and our neck. We want to rotate our entire body. If you're shooting a soccer game, figure out where the soccer goal is, point your body there, and rotate the top half of your body to follow action into the goal. This is how I need you to hold a camera. This is how it's going to work best for you. This is what you need to do, and that's how you need to do it. Got it?